for joining us today. Hope your Saturday's going well.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been a long one already. I was up at 6 a.m. Pacific. We've been doing a mock selection committee that started Thursday night. Today's day 3, and we'll wrap it up tomorrow morning with the final results and put a bracket out tomorrow afternoon as a collective groups. So it's always a great exercise for any bracketologist to go through, because at the end of the day, the bracket's not built by one person. It's built by a collection of people. And it allows you to see every single team, the good, the bad, the ugly, and figure out how you compare these teams, because they all come from different leagues and they all come from different types of schedules.
That's really interesting. What does this exercise look like? I mean, are you breaking down these team sheets as the selection committee is going to coming up in a few weeks?
So we have a printout. I think it's 4 or 5 pages printout. We've been doing it for a handful of years now. Last year, we all met in person out in Omaha, Nebraska. This year, we're doing it on YouTube Live. It's called Banner Brackets. You probably recognize some of the others on there as well. But what we do is we follow the NCAA process to a T from start to finish, which is why we started on Thursday night. They meet for about 4 days in Indianapolis. They stick around for the 5th day to kind of see how that last Sunday goes and to submit their final bracket to CBS. But yeah, so we go straight down the seed list. We vote on each team. It's a cross country scoring on the voting, and it's kind of like ranked choice voting, I guess you could compare it to in for like an election. So we have, at different points of the voting, sometimes we have a list of 8 teams, and we got to rank them all 1 through 8. So like if I liked BYU the best, I could put them 1. Somebody else might have them 8 on the same list, and they average out around a 4 or 5. So that's how the actual committee goes through it. But before we even go into voting, we have different people on the committee representing different leagues. So my role is to represent the Mountain West, the Big West, the West Coast Conference. And so when my teams come up, I do a little presentation on them and explain what their story is and why they're being considered. So it's a great experience, and a lot of people are tuning in to watch just to kind of see how it works. But we really follow the process step by step all the way till the end of the weekend.
Rocco, for those who haven't watched, what's been the conversation, the good, the bad, and the ugly when BYU's been discussed?
Well, obviously they're, in terms of recency bias, I think everybody loves what BYU's been doing. They've gone from a team, maybe 5-6 weeks ago to probably being outside of the field entirely to just completely building a resume, and now at a point where they're definitely going to be in the field. So a lot of great recent play. Of course, 2 monster road wins, one at Iowa State just recently, and of course the other one at Arizona. So, with BYU, I think the only knocks left on them overall is in quad 1, they're 5-7. They added another loss in quad 2. But beyond that, they don't have what we would consider a bad loss, right? They don't have anything outside of like the top 2A. If you look at the quad 2 results, there's actually split in half for the committee, and that loss is in the upper half of quad 2. You could pick apart BYU's strength of schedule. They scheduled at a poor clip compared to the rest of the field at 309th in the country. But I also try to be careful with that, because I remind the other guys, you got to understand that like the net and the strength of record and some of these other metrics that are out there on the team sheet, it's already factoring in non-conference strength. So you don't want to double count that either for or against a team. So those are really the only things you can pick apart really on BYU at this point. I think the hard part with BYU is they're right in this mix of a ton of teams that also have really interesting resumes, whether it's Memphis or now Missouri, who just lost again this morning, or Louisville, who hasn't had the opportunity to play a lot of teams, but they just keep winning. You also have Kansas in that same group of teams. Illinois won against Purdue last night. So there's just I think the group has really had a hard time coming to a consensus on, what pecking order those teams should all go in.
Talking with Rocco Miller, bracketologist. You can check out his latest bracket that he released yesterday, bracketeer.org. And in that bracket, Rocco, you've got BYU as a 7 seed playing 10 seed Arkansas in Lexington. How did you come to that placement in the bracket? And I ask that because BYU is a tricky team to slot into the bracket because of the no Sunday play. How did you come to that spot for the Cougars?
Yeah, great question. And in yesterday's post, so that would be dated March 7th. Maybe by the time somebody hears this, it might be after the next post. But I actually went seed by seed and explained it. So I believe, and this is just kind of talking to committees in previous years, including last year, about BYU specifically. Of course, with BYU, they only can play Thursday, Saturday sites as a reminder. So it chops the options in half. And so for this year, the starting point is they have to be in the East or the West. I think you've covered that probably on this program. And then from there, you need to find a Thursday, Saturday site. So when typically, so yesterday, BYU was the second on my list in terms of the 7 seeds. Out of the 4 teams on the 7 line, BYU was second. But I actually started with BYU because, and I think the real committee does this, because you've got to get them into one of those spots. And also you want to make sure you have a spot that fits for them. So fortunately, yesterday, with Alabama dropping to a 2 seed and going to Lexington and being in the East region, it all kind of fit perfectly. So that's how BYU ended up there. A little bit later in the process, you get to the 10 seeds because when you're bracketing, you're going in order. When we get to the 10 seeds, that was interesting as well because, Arkansas is another SEC team next to Alabama, but they are allowed to go there because of the fact that they only played Alabama one time during the season, so the rules will allow that. The issue I was running into with putting Arkansas in the Kansas region is they actually played in the 2023 NCAA tournament, which is a little bit of more of a firm rule to not have rematches from the last 2 brackets. So that was kind of an interesting court. Good question. And if I wouldn't have run into that, BYU's opponent would have been Utah State, which I know everybody in the Beehive State is intrigued to see if that's actually going to happen.
Yeah, that would be. I know a lot of people would be very intrigued by a matchup between BYU and Utah State. I gotta ask you though too, Rocco, because you're one of the best at really sizing up how the selection committee thinks. I'm curious. I've seen some brackets that have potentially BYU as a 7, but then in the round of 32, maybe a matchup with Texas Tech as a 2 seed. Could we see the committee maybe ease their stance of 9 or 10 conference teams having to be into the field to create a round of 32 conference matchup? Could that be in play where BYU maybe faces a conference foe in the round of 32 potentially in a quadrant?
I could see that only because BYU only has, from a geographical standpoint and the Thursday, Saturday, they only have limited options.
Yeah.
So in that scenario, if Texas Tech's the only one available that's playing on those days, then you're allowed to do that for sure. I think they would look to – I think the committee prefers to get them into a mix of teams that wouldn't be a rematch at all in a pod. But that's kind of the first one to go out the window, kind of like how I ended up with Arkansas and Alabama and BYU's pod on my forecast yesterday. So, yes, that could certainly happen. And if it's going to happen in the Big 12, I think it's going to be with BYU due to the limited choices they have on where to slot them. But otherwise, I think the Big 12 is going to land around 7 or 8 teams, maybe up to 9 at the most. But they probably won't be in that situation. But if they are, that maybe Texas Tech makes the most sense. Maybe if Iowa State gets hot or something, that could be possible. But I think those would probably be the only 2 because they played Arizona twice. Any of the teams that BYU's played twice, they won't be in the same pod as. They can't meet until the Sweet 16.
Rocco, you referenced BYU's Quad 1 record of 5-7. They got a win right now that I don't believe is Quad 1, but it's right there in the fringe, that Baylor win at home. If that were to somehow end up being Quad 1 and give them another Quad 1 win, would that help at all on potentially moving them up to the 6th spot? Yeah,
and on that point, one of the key numbers I have is wins against teams that are going to be in the field. And Baylor, theoretically is in the field for now. If they lose today and lose their first Big 12 tournament game, there's a decent chance Baylor's out. But for right now, for the sake of this exercise yesterday, BYU had 6 wins, including that Baylor win against the field. So that's actually one of the first things I look at for the comparisons. And I know the committee harps on that all the time. So I've modeled my work over the years off of all the things the committee talks about. And now I've been able to build some relationships with some of the people on the committee for multiple years. We will have 7 newcomers this year. So maybe some of our forecasts will be a little off. We don't really know a lot about these new 7 people, but in general, you want to get as many wins against the teams that are going to be in the tournament. That's going to impress the committee the most. And so, like I look at BYU now, I had them right next to Marquette. Marquette's they just took an overtime loss while we're talking. So BYU is probably ahead of Marquette at this very second because of that. But they both had 6 wins as an example. And UCLA just above that had 7. Memphis only has 5. Teams like Louisville and Kansas have fewer, but they also have other things that you like because Kansas beat Duke and Michigan State. But I did have BYU above Kansas yesterday because just 6 is a lot more than 3, and we all saw what happened when BYU just throttled Kansas. So, there's just a lot of different things to look at, but I think the thing to keep in mind is it's a body of work exercise. Everything you did from November till March matters the same, and then you just kind of eventually have to make a decision, like which one impresses you more, and you just do that all the way through the process.
Last thing for you, Rocco, so you can enjoy the rest of your Saturday and all the action in college hoops. Again, follow Rocco on X, Rocco Miller 8. Conference tournaments, how impactful can they be? And I ask that because I think of last year when Iowa State just hammered Houston in the Big 12 championship game. That did not bump them to the 1 seed line last year like many maybe thought they could after beating Houston, because it seems like conference tournaments, it's a mixed bag of how impactful they can actually be. If BYU does get on a run in Kansas City next week, could that help their cause to climb some seed lines?
Yeah, it's interesting because if BYU handles business today, that gets them the double bye, and they won't take the court till 12:30 on. I guess they'll be in the early game Thursday,
yep.
Which helps. Just so from a chronological standpoint, the committee convenes Wednesday morning, and then they start their process like we've been doing on this last weekend. And by the time they get to Friday night, let's just say, they're already mostly going to be done with like having their 68 ready to go. At the very latest, I think Saturday morning they'll have their 68 teams selected, and then from there it's just kind of waiting and seeing which bids get stolen, because a lot of bids could get stolen that Saturday or even Sunday. Sunday, of course, has the Atlantic 10 and the American, which are always kind of high-profile bid steal conferences. But at that point in time, especially for seeding, I think a lot of those discussions are a little earlier in the process. I think that'll be done by Friday. So BYU beats, the 5 seed right now, I think for the conference tournament would be Iowa State. So you get an Iowa State win out in Kansas City, that's impressive. That might move them up a spot, right? So I would hope that at least, especially with that game being played early Thursday, if that's the result we see, I think that can only help. There's no guarantee that it will, but that's kind of why when you saw that championship game last year, by that point in the process, they know those teams are so solidly in the field, and Iowa State did get a 2 seed, so I think everybody just lives with it and moves on. And it's a little unfortunate because we'd like to see those games have more consequences or more rewards. I think in the old days we did. But just all the time, the way things have to time out and get the bracket over to CBS on Sunday afternoon, it's just it's a tight ship that they run at the NCAA, and it is what it is. And I don't love that. I would rather wait a day and get it right, but that's the world they deal with.
He's Rocco Miller. You can follow him on X at Rocco Miller 8. Great stuff, Rocco. Looking forward to reading more of your brackets and your bracketology coverage leading up to Selection Sunday.
Anytime, guys. I appreciate it. Congrats on the great run, and it's going to be a fun couple weeks for BYU.
Thanks. That's Rocco Miller here on KSL News Radio. We're taking a break. We'll talk more BYU and the brackets next here on Cougar Sports Saturday.
Do you need new windows? Look, all glass pretty much looks the same to the naked eye, but if your windows aren't triple-coated, argon-filled and sealed double-pane glass, the cold is seeping in. You need to call Advanced Window Products. They use the highest quality glass and premium vinyl to create state-of-the-art windows and frames, and for 38 years, they build those frames right here in Utah. Custom crafted for Utah's climate. The best windows you can buy at prices 30 and 40% less than what the big companies charge because they cut out the middleman. They're the factory. They even give you a lifetime warranty, and right now as we head into spring, save an extra $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Custom windows that'll give your house a fresh new look and save you money on your heating and air conditioning. Advanced Windows offers 60-month 0% financing, even buy now, pay later, and an extra $2,500 off. Call for a quote. 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100 or go to advancedwindows.com.
This is the story of the one. He's responsible for keeping a leading healthcare facility clean and safe. And he trusts Grainger's high-quality HVAC cleaning and safety products, combined with their world-class supply chain, to consistently deliver, ensuring he's covered inside and out, so he can focus on keeping his facility clean to help protect the health of everyone inside. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Jackson Hewitt wants you to save money on tax prep. We're saving money by having our intern rap in this commercial.
Don't stress, Jackson Hewitt's got expert tax prep, $149 or less. Yo, some tax guys lie about price. What? They got hidden fees, that ain't nice. Ain't nice. Don't ignore MC Kevin's rhyme, cause this deal's for a limited time. $149.
For tax prep that's $149 or less, hurry into Jackson Hewitt today.
No cap.
Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Something amazing is happening. Technology is working harder, faster, and more reliably. It's delivering results that work. But who makes technology work? CDW. We're a full-service technology solutions provider, advising our clients and designing customized solutions so they can reach their goals and do amazing things. CDW. Make amazing happen. Find out more at cdw.com.
Get a head start on the warmer months ahead with a $29 AC tune-up from Yes Air Conditioning, Heating, Plumbing, and Electric. Yes offers licensed technicians and an exceptional service guarantee to give you peace of mind and help prevent expensive breakdowns. Ensure your system is working at peak efficiency and help save money on energy costs with a $29 AC tune-up from Yes Air Conditioning, Heating, Plumbing, and Electric. Call now or visit theyesmancan.com for details, terms, and conditions. Just say yes.
At Trio Senior Living, older adults aren't slowing down. They're just getting started. The Prime Fit Wellness Program expands wellness beyond the gym into every aspect of community life. Whatever your goals, the team at Trio Senior Living has got your back, so you can put your best foot forward. Call 801-475-4004 today to schedule your personal visit.
Welcome back into Cougar Sports Saturday. Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte, in-depth commentary on the brackets. In-depth breakdown there with Rocco.
Good stuff.
It really was, and it's interesting how he does a, basically step-by-step process of what the committee does. And he talked about, the unique challenges and how BYU caused potential rematch of Arkansas-Bama in the round of 32 because of where they slot into the bracket. It is just very interesting, and sometimes I feel like the no Sunday thing is just always a built-in excuse to justify, we gave BYU this rematch against Texas A&M because, they don't play on Sundays. But still, BYU's a tricky team to put in the bracket, but I do believe that no matter where BYU gets placed, this is a team that I feel can make a run in March. And I think back to last year, Matt, and BYU when they were in Omaha against Duquesne, everyone was picking BYU to win that game. It felt like in that day before and the pregame moments before that game and the hour before tip-off, there was just a tense feeling like, don't drop the ball. Like, try not to lose rather than going out and winning the game. And, BYU, I think I thought of this when I watched the cut this week at that Iowa State game, and Kevin Young saying, the punking, we're going to be doing the punking. BYU last year got punked in March Madness.
Yep.
That's not going to happen this year.
No.
It doesn't matter the style of play, who they get, if it's an East Coast team, whatever it is. I think BYU is going to match up well with nearly any team. And I'm very intrigued to see where BYU ends up in March Madness, but it's nice that it feels like they're a virtual lock to be in the NCAA tournament. That's a positive development from where they were a month ago.
It's hard to compare last year's team to this year's team. Just there's so many differences.
Oh yeah,
you've touched about, but like I think one thing that's also helping this year's team is remember last year at this time how BYU was trying to navigate Ramadan with Ali Khalifa and how that had an effect in the Big 12 tournament, and I think it definitely had an effect in the NCAA tournament.
And his knee, too.
Yes, for sure. But, when you're fasting for religious purposes, it's hard to have the energy to play at a high level. And BYU did their best, and so did Ali Khalifa, but that's not a challenge that they're going to be facing in this Big 12 tournament. So there's just a lot of differences between what happened last year and what happened this year. And one thing I also like, too, about this year compared to last year is there's multiple players from last year's team that are on this year's team that lived that experience and that they can just operate differently, even in the Big 12 tournament. This isn't the first time through for Dallin Hall and Richie Saunders and Fush Traore. They've done it. The NCAA tournament, this will not be the first time for them. Now, is there going to be pressure? Of course. There's going to be pressure because when you are as successful as you've been throughout 30, 40, 50 years and you have so few NCAA tournament wins, there's going to be pressure. But I just feel like they're well more equipped to handle the curveballs and the pressure and the challenges that are coming their way, in large part due to that experience, in large part due to Kevin Young and his ability as a coach, and then also in large part due to the versatility of this team. There's just more options. If someone's not playing well, we talked about this earlier in hour number one. If Igor is turning the ball over too much, you pivot to Dallin. If Moat Mag is not making threes, maybe you give Trevenell a little bit more run. There's just a lot more optionality with this team, and I think that's one of the reasons why they're playing so well right now.
Iowa State, who BYU defeated earlier this week, they're having a bounce-back performance. They're up 49-34, 13 minutes left in the second half. If BYU, takes care of business, they're expected to be the 4 seed in the Big 12 tournament. Potential rematch against Iowa State. I'd like to think BYU could boost its resume with if they could get a second win over Iowa State, and then you get a matchup to, play Houston in the semifinals if you get there, assuming, of course, Houston would take care of business on their side of things in the Big 12 tournament. So I thought it was also interesting, too, from Rocco about the timing, how Friday night is where it starts to really settle in for the tournament, and maybe those early games potentially for BYU in the Big 12.
That commentary to me makes me feel like lose the first game. It's not going to matter. Why take the beating and the punishment?
It's a fair question. Hey, we got to take a break, though. On the other side, we'll talk about BYU women's basketball, head coach change. Amber Whiting is out as the head coach after 3 seasons. We'll talk with former player Jess Chapman about the coaching change next here on Cougar Sports Saturday.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. On again, off again, Trump tariffs. A day after he paused tariffs on goods from Mexico and Canada for a month, President Trump now threatening to impose new tariffs on Canadian lumber and dairy products. ABC's Perry Russum.
So if we look specifically at dairy and lumber, what economists say is likely to happen with these tariffs is the prices for things, including dairy and lumber, are just going to go up, because what happens with this added cost is it gets handed down to the company that is selling these items, and that cost gets handed down to American consumers. So we're looking at prices to go up even more, as high as they are right now.
And with egg prices hitting record highs, ABC News has learned that the Justice Department's in the early stages of investigating the major egg producers, looking to find out if some of the egg companies are sharing information on supply and pricing. 2 Newark, New Jersey police officers were shot in the line of duty Friday. One of them was killed.
Essex County Prosecutor Theodore Stevens said officers were conducting a Friday night investigation.
Based on criminal intelligence, the police were investigating the possibility that these individuals had illegal firearms.
Their interaction led to gunshots. 2 Newark officers were hit. 26-year-old Joseph Escana, a 5-year veteran of the force, died. 5 suspects are now in custody, and a 14-year-old is charged with murder. Brian Clark, ABC News.
The growing measles outbreak in West Texas, nearly 200 cases, leading health officials to revise their vaccine recommendations in the hotspots.
Health officials in Texas are issuing those updated vaccine guidelines for 6 counties as that measles outbreak there continues to grow. At least 198 cases in that state reported now. That's 39 more cases than the last update we got, which was on Tuesday.
ABC's Phil Lipoff. At least 20 people killed, 55 injured, say Ukrainian officials, after another overnight barrage from Russia. This a day after the U.S. pressed pause on sharing intelligence with Ukraine. You're listening to ABC News.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Struggling with back taxes or unfiled returns? Owe the IRS $10,000 or more? With the IRS ramping up enforcement, taxpayers across the country are turning to tax relief helpers. Call 800-885-0622 now. End IRS stress today. Stop collection efforts, wage garnishments, and sleepless nights. Tax relief helpers can help you or your business settle your tax debt quickly and affordably. Call the Tax Relief Helpers hotline at 800-885-0622. That's 800-885-0622. Start your relief today.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete. Another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports.
Left wing for 3. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Cougar Sports Saturday, hour number 2 coming your way. We've talked a lot of BYU men's hoops this first hour, and rightfully so. They're playing great basketball, but shocking news, I think, somewhat this morning as BYU announced they were parting ways with their women's basketball coach, Amber Whiting. And to discuss this coaching change, what BYU needs to do to improve and become players in the Big 12 on the women's side of things, we bring in a former player, Jess Chapman, on the program. Jess, thanks for spending some time with us here on Cougar Sports Saturday.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be back.
Yeah, we love having you back, and we love having a former Cougar player to chime in on this. Amber's record was not great during her 3 years. Do you think that was the primary reason that they're making this coaching change?
I mean, I just think there's a lot of change happening in BYU sports that is just not a surprise. Like the record, yes, but even looking at her recruiting, I just don't feel like she pulled a lot of talent into the program in the last 3 years. And so just I think it's a combination of a lot of different things going on, but for sure the record did not help.
What did you see as some of the on-court issues for Amber Whiting's teams over the past couple of years?
I just feel like their offense is a bit chaotic. I don't know. I just feel like there's not a ton of like rhythm to it. And I feel like it's kind of just all over the place. And like, I just feel like that was part of the problem of why they didn't win a lot of games down the stretch, especially because that really does come down to coaching when it's like a neck and neck game.
It's interesting you mentioned the talent piece because I think some people would look at it and say Shaylee Gonzalez was there at the beginning of the tenure. No, she wasn't actually. She left the year before.
Yeah.
But you bring in Delaney Gibb, who's been great this year.
Amari Whiting was top 50.
Amari Whiting, who is in the transfer portal now, but and then you had Lauren Gustin in there too. So when you say there wasn't a lot of, do you just mean not enough supporting talent?
I mean, if you think about it, so she brings in her daughter, like that's an automatic. Like I don't think that obviously became because she was her mother, but like she didn't. You know, I mean, I don't think that's like a big, huge pull, in my opinion. She got Lauren Gustin from the previous coaching staff. And then I do think Gibb was like an amazing grab, but it's like one big grab in 3 years. Like, I just don't think that's enough talent coming, like competing in the Big 12, in my opinion.
Talk with Jess Chapman here on Cougar Sports Saturday, BYU Let's Go of Amber Whiting after 3 seasons. So, what type of coach should BYU look at next? Like, what are some of the qualities, Jess, that you feel BYU should be looking for in this next head coach to lead the women's basketball program?
That's a good question, because I think that it's an exciting time for BYU sports that they can go two directions, right? So, like, the previous direction they went was with a high school coach that didn't have a ton of, like, game experience in terms of Division I. And so if they were to go that route again, I do think there's some candidates out there, but I think that they just need to get a coach that has a lot of experience as a head coach at the D1 level. Maybe not even as a head coach, because I know we might bring like an assistant maybe up or something like that. But I just think they need someone with experience, especially like competing in the Big 12. Like, we just can't have, not as much experience in that. So I just feel like they need to bring someone in with a lot of experience. Would
you prefer they bring in someone new that doesn't have any association, or do you think they should look at, because there's really three in-state candidates that would and could make a lot of sense. Lee Camard, a current assistant, who's the interim head coach. Down the street at Utah Valley, Coach Nelson, he was an assistant under – did you play under Coach Nielsen?
Yeah, he was on the staff when I was at BYU. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then there's Morgan Bailey up at Utah. What do you make of those candidates? Is that something that you think BYU should entertain?
I mean, I think that Lee Camard's been a part of two staffs there, right? And I wouldn't hire in-house. With Dan, he hasn't had the greatest record either at UVU, so I worry there in terms of the experience factor of it. I think Morgan Bailey would be a really good coach. She obviously has experience. She's an alumni, and then she just went over to Utah, and they've been doing really well over there. I think she has a ton of experience. I think she'd be a great candidate for the job.
One of the big things that I wonder, too, with BYU women's basketball is what can they do to get one more support? Because I feel like that's always been an X factor for BYU men's basketball and BYU football, is that, yes, there's some challenges, because I think any job at BYU is going to have some red tape and some challenges that are unique to BYU, but they always have that foundation of fan support. What do you think can be done to generate more fan support that makes this job really, very attractive to overcome some of the red tape that this next head coach will have to navigate at BYU?
Yeah, I think a lot of the excitement around the men's program is due to the recruits they're bringing in, right? Like, they're getting these top recruits and they're putting a lot of resources into that. I think the fan support would come from also bringing in some big recruits. Like, I think it obviously comes down to the talent that we're bringing into the program. So if we're bringing in these like bigger, like 5-star, 4-star, whatever that looks like, I think that would for sure bring a lot more excitement to the program, get some fans in there, because then they're good. They're bringing in these recruits, right?
What is a reasonable expectation for this next coach? Like, I think obviously you want all your sports to be championship level, and maybe that's the expectation, but what bar does this next coach have to meet for BYU fans and people just looking inside the program to say it's trending in the right direction?
I think they need to be top half of the Big 12. I think that they have the resources to do that, and so I don't think it's an excuse to not be in the top half of the Big 12, number one. But number two, I think that they need to also make some March Madness appearances. Like, first round, great, but like, I just feel like they have the resources. They obviously could bring in talent to be able to do those things, and I just think that the women's programs the last couple of years hasn't gotten to that expectation, and it's time, in my opinion.
I'm really curious to see too if the revenue sharing era that's about to take place in college sports, with all the sports getting a cut of money. You have to think that BYU being in a power conference and the Big 12 wanting to compete at the highest levels and pay these athletes, you have to wonder if maybe that can help bring in those high-profile recruits that then gives BYU a better chance to get to those March Madness appearances and start winning big, because it feels like the potential's there.
For sure. And like, we aren't low on resources, obviously. Like, we're bringing in, the men's program, talks of 5 to 7 for AJ. And like, even Igor this year was $1 million. So it's like, we have the resources. I think it's just the choice to invest in the women's program. And if we want to see change, it's like we do need to invest in, invest in the women's program.
Jess Chapman's our guest for a few more moments here, breaking down the change that is brewing down in Provo with the women's basketball team. Amari Whiting, the daughter of Amber Whiting, is in the transfer portal. How difficult do you think that situation was, just navigating a mother-daughter situation in the locker room?
Yeah, I am not a big fan of mother-daughter type of connections on the team. I think it's really hard as a player to have a daughter on the team just because it changes everything. It changes the conversations you have amongst each other. It changes the locker room. It changes just the camaraderie. It's hard. And even with playing time, it's she started every single game as a freshman, as a sophomore. It's hard not to show favoritism to your daughter, obviously. It's just also really hard to be on a team with a daughter. And so I personally would have had a really hard time on that roster. I'm not going to lie.
How involved do you think players should be in a coaching change? I'm looking at this from the perspective of Delaney Gibb, who is just spectacular, and you'd want to retain her. How much do you think a player of her caliber should be clued in to voice her opinions on who could be the next head coach?
To be honest, I don't really think it comes down to the player's decision. I don't think that's a player decision to have. I think obviously they can bring in some candidates and see how they vibe with the players, but I think that comes down to administration. That's the AD's decision to make, not the players. And I think Gibb could even be one of those players that goes into the transfer portal as well. She had a phenomenal year. And if she doesn't like who they bring in, she could end up in the portal as well. So I don't think it really is a player's decision. I think that's on the admin.
You bring up the admin, and it comes at an interesting time with,
Right.
Tom Homo announcing his retirement. And I think that's kind of one of the areas where I think some, including myself, thought maybe there's a chance Whiting holds on for one more year because of the uncertainty at the AD spot and who that next AD is going to be. But do you think this timing is right to do this now and to turn the page and bring in a new head coach?
Yeah, I think it's a fresh start. I think that her job could have been, on the chopping block when the new AD came in anyways. I think that, she had a lot of things going for her in that regard. So I'm not surprised that they let her go with Homo right now, but I think it's a good fresh start so that he can put someone in there. He obviously has the experience to choose someone that he thinks is best for the program. I think it's the last-ditch effort to kind of save this program.
She is Jess Chapman. Jess, thanks for the time. I'm sure we'll have you back on once a new head coach is in place and we can react to that decision.
Thanks, Jess.
Sounds good. Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, Jess Chapman breaking down the news of the women's basketball program, and it is an interesting time. And I think one thing that is encouraging if you are a fan of the women's program is that one thing is clear: winning is expected at every sport right now. Because if 3 years and no progress, is this a move they make after 3 years in a different time at BYU? Maybe not. Maybe they let it ride a little bit more, but you can't be one and done in Big 12 tournaments and not showing improvement. So it's not just football and basketball. I think this move makes it clear across the athletic department, we expect to compete. And if we're not competing, then we're going to find someone who can help us get there.
And I think fans listening love that. And I think Shane Reese has set that tone and that expectation where BYU wants to compete at the highest levels. And I did think that with the AD uncertainty, it felt like there maybe could have been a chance for her to get another year. But that on-court product has struggled. BYU could have won more games in the Big 12 this year, the BYU women's team. They could have beat West Virginia on the road. They had 31 turnovers, though. This team always committed turnovers, time and time again. It was self-inflicted wounds. Against UCF earlier this week in the Big 12 tournament, they had an early first-quarter lead, took care of the basketball. Second quarter, 8 turnovers, only 7 points. Then they buried themselves, put themselves in a hole. They also lack size in the front court. The guard play has been good for BYU women's basketball. The efficiency, though, was an issue for BYU in some players. But it's got to get better. And I think, too, that I really wonder, though, what they're going to be able to do to really get BYU fans bought into women's basketball. And this is where, look, there's no method. This is just kind of like what I've seen over the years with BYU sports. One of the things that does sometimes hurt the women's sports at BYU, like a basketball, is that women's basketball tends to be played on Sundays. So they can get their own day around the country where the men play on the Saturdays, women play on the Sundays. If you're a BYU fan and you've got some money, whatever it is, or you're spending time watching TV, which game are you going to watch? The BYU men or the women? You're going to pick the men probably because that's just what you've done. So there's never been this opportunity to really kind of game after game after game watch the women's team and invest and commit. But there's that opportunity because you're seeing more exposure. Every game's pretty much on ESPN+. You can watch any game. You can watch this team. But it's still like that. There's a unique challenge to that where I feel like the fan base has never taken off because you see it with women's soccer. That's a really good fan base. Women's volleyball. They don't compete really with football very often. Sometimes they have some Saturday games, sure. But I just think women's basketball, for whatever reason, has never taken off at BYU. And it's not because they haven't been good. They've had teams, they've had more Sweet 16s on the women's side than the men. They've had 3 Sweet 16s in my lifetime. The women's program has. The men have had 1 in my lifetime. Now, I know they had 81 with the Elite 8 for the men, but you can win at BYU. And the Big 12 women's side is not the gauntlet like you see in some of the other leagues in women's basketball, like the Big 10. It's not that. TCU was down and out a couple years ago. They won the league. It can be done. How can you go make a splash, commit the resources, and get this thing to a higher level? I just think you got to have a system in place behind the scenes, a day in, day out commitment to something greater than yourself, kind of like what we're seeing with the men's side, and a system that there's belief in that's proven to work. And that's going to be the challenge for Holmo and this administration to find the next head coach, because the last one was a high school head coach. That was one of the most shocking hires I've ever seen for BYU sports hiring. And it didn't work out in 3 years. Now they got to get that right and get this thing back on track.
Let's get to some candidates for this women's job on the other side. Stay with us. A lot more reaction to this news and, of course, previewing a big rivalry game on the men's side later tonight here on Cougar Sports Saturday.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Listen up, fellow Gen Xers. Elizabeth Banks here. The recommended age for pneumococcal pneumonia vaccination has been lowered to 50 and older, even if you're healthy. It's up to us to lead the way. We've done this before. Music videos, fanny packs, even the World Wide Web. Let's do it again and get vaccinated, because we're at over 6 times greater risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Gen X, this is our shot. Visit VaxAssist.com and schedule a vaccine today. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Meanwhile, at Xfinity. So, influencer life going well?
Oh, yeah. I'm up to 32 followers.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah, posting my tap dancing videos is easier than ever because we engineered Xfinity Internet with 99.99% network reliability.
Plus, Xfinity Mobile with Wi-Fi Power Boost gives you ultra-fast Wi-Fi at home and on the go. But wait, tap dancing? You don't tap dance.
Hey, what I lack in skill, I make up with passion.
Do more of what you love and love how fast you do it with Xfinity Internet and mobile. Through April 21st, get 300 megabit Xfinity Internet and 1 unlimited mobile line together for $25 a month for 1 year and save over $1,000 in your first year versus other major carriers. Plus, ask how to get iPhone 16e on us. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. Savings compared to Verizon 5G Internet plus 1 unlimited welcome line and AT&T Internet 300 plus 1 unlimited starter SL line. Xfinity Internet required. Actual savings vary.
The Salt Lake Chamber is Utah's voice for business. Okay, that sounds great, but what does it really mean? Well, as Utah's largest and longest-standing business association, they support and champion community prosperity throughout the state. And if you're in business, well, that's a very good thing for you. Be sure to listen to the Chamber's Speaking on Business. Weekdays at 7:20, 11:55, and 5:20 p.m. on KSL News Radio.
Do you know the secret to losing up to 1 pound of fat every day? At Salt Lake City Fat Loss, we know the secret. Our doctor-developed, easy-to-follow weight loss program helps you lose weight fast, naturally, and safely with no drugs or injections. No prepackaged meals, bars, shakes, or exercising required. Our program helps reset your metabolism so you can lose weight quickly and keep the weight off for good with an easy-to-follow maintenance plan that includes ongoing personal support. And our program costs half as much and works up to twice as fast than most other programs. Go to slcfatloss.com to schedule your free consultation now.
Hey, this is Dave Noriega, and with Salt Lake City Fat Loss, I lost boatloads of fat. 57 pounds in 60 days, and if you join right now, you're going to get an extra $200 off the program.
Many clients lose 20 to 30 pounds in about a month or two. That's up to a pound per day. Schedule your free consultation now at slcfatloss.com. That's slcfatloss.com. Results may vary.
Let's get to the candidates, Mitch, for this women's job. We touched on a few. So there's Dan Nielsen, the Utah Valley head coach. He was an assistant under Jeff Judkins. He's been at Utah Valley for several years now, and I have been a bit surprised that the Wolverines women's team hasn't been better in the Western Athletic Conference. So I think that would probably be a knock on Dan, is that you went down a level in competition and the success didn't follow, because as an assistant under Jeff, they were much more successful than he has done as a head coach. There's Lee Camard, which is an interesting one. He's
the interim coach now.
And you'd have to look. I haven't seen the finalist list, but you'd have to imagine that he was a finalist for the job.
And you have to think too that this move comes at a time where you have an AD in place who has publicly gone on the record and said he always has a succession board ready to go. If you hired someone new, would that person have the board to go find an LDS women's coach? Because I'm telling you, it's very hard. Like, the last coach you go to was a Burley High School head coach in Idaho. So that kind of told you the pool was a little bit thin. And Homo, to his credit, he's acknowledged he always keeps a potential succession board or the replacement board on deck for every sport, because that's why they never hire a search firm. Typically, schools are going for turnkey ZRG. Hey, let's get a search firm launched and then help us drill down and find some candidates. BYU does not do that. They don't operate in that world, and they don't go to the search firm business because they're not going to third parties. They're doing it in-house because, again, it's a unique job. And I think that's one of the things that's interesting about this, to do it now with Homo there, because he's got a track record with hirings, and Santiago's going to be involved. He oversees this program too. He's heavily involved with the basketball programs too. So I think that's kind of an interesting dynamic that you have to factor in. You know, I was kind of brainstorming some potential candidates. I did come across the UVU Dan Nielsen. You know, a coach that is interesting out in D3. Again, D3. I'm trying to turn over every stone here, Matt. Southern Virginia, who's got connections to the church. They believe in the LDS church beliefs. Lynette Schrader, she's a successful coach in women's basketball.
This is the same university where Joe Dupay, a former BYU football coach, is he the head man there?
I believe so. I don't know if he's still the head man there, but yes, he was.
Billy
there.
Nixon went there too.
Yes,
right?
That's right. But she's a successful women's basketball coach there. Also, John Wardenberg's son is a women's basketball associate head coach at Air Force, Adam Wardenberg. Oh, yeah, Joe DePay, still Southern Virginia head football coach. There you go. Adam Wardenberg, too. And then there's got to be some wild cards out there. I mean, there's got to be people that are LDS that are in the coaching game, but I guess the question's got to be, Matt, is there a Kevin Young in women's basketball in the WNBA? Or here's a thought, too. When you talk about Kevin Young, remember Jeff Judkins, he coached with BYU men, and that was different because he was in-house with the BYU at the time with the men's side. But do you maybe target a men's coach that's been a long-time assistant? Say, hey, get a head coach opportunity. Come here, LDS, give you an opportunity to succeed. At the women's game, I don't know. Like, it's a very tricky position because, and is this the job, too, that maybe you consider the Diljit Taylor route where you hire a coach who's not LDS? I don't know. It's a difficult job.
I'm very open to that.
I think he'd have to be, to me.
I love your Southern Virginia poll, though, too. I think I'm not an expert, of course, on women's sports.
Yeah.
I will say I've done play-by-play for women's sports for almost half my life. I did play-by-play for women's basketball for Utah Valley for many, many, many years. And I still do play-by-play for women's volleyball for Utah Valley. So I've been around the women's sport for a long time. Again, I'm not an expert, but I think the reason I like your pull of that candidate from Southern Virginia for two reasons. I do like it when the women's sports have a woman head coach. I think there's some value there. It's not that a man can't connect to a woman player from a coach-player dynamic. Of course they can. We've seen it many times at BYU and at much higher levels. But I do think there's just a different dynamic there in a positive way.
Yeah.
And then I like that she's successful. I like the wins. I think I'm worried about coaches that haven't been successful as a head coach previously. And I'm also worried about coaches that don't have head coach experience. This has now become a big job. This isn't a WCC job anymore.
And this is a job that if it's similar to other Big 12 institutions, again, BYU is never going to go on the record about this, but if it's similar structure in terms of pay structure in the revenue sharing era, women's basketball makes a nice cut. So the women that are on this team next year in the revenue sharing era, the 15 roster spots that they have, they will make money and they will get paid. And they will make a lot more than WCC players and Group of 5 athletes. They will make a nice chunk of change.
They're in that tier 2. They're not Big 10 and SEC, but that next ACC, Big 12, they're right there.
And who knows? Again, BYU has not gone on the record and said they're paying the $20.5 million in revenue sharing. But if they did, and the Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark has said he wants his institutions to compete at the highest level in revenue sharing, if they do go to that, it's nice money to be had for whoever is on that team next year. It's a big job. So you wonder, too, if you can find a coach that's got great recruiting background. But I think one of the things that stood out to me in the Amber Whiting era was that it felt at times the operation itself felt a little bit high school-like. I'm watching a game, covering a game, and I'm seeing a player, I've never seen this before, eating chips during the starting lineup introductions. There was a player on the court eating chips. Like, it's just things like that. Look, that sounds very like look, did that define a wins and loss? The girl wasn't playing. She was injured, whatnot. But it's just like things like that. That was very weird to me. Like, I've never seen that. Like, player, like, imagine Kevin Young's, like, starting a lineup, Yegor David! Like, some guy's just, like, in the handshake, like, eating Fritos. What? It's just weird. Like, talent's there. Delaney Gibbs, awesome. Amari Whiting, room to grow, but talent was there. The operation just
I don't know
felt
if the
like
depth was there, though.
Right. And they had a lot of injuries, and there were a lot of factors. They've had some misses and some players that they've counted on in the past. There was a big Jenna Solomon who didn't matriculate in, Jenna Sai. There was some players that they were banking on they were going to be big, and that didn't work out. And so it hasn't always been the most fortunate circumstance from the personnel standpoint for Amber Whiting. Ariel Mackey-Williams, back-to-back years she missed. There were players that they were counting on, they weren't there. And it's tough. And that's why I kind of felt like maybe you give her one more go, one more chance to get it right. But, clean slate now for the next AD, and you move forward into a new era with women's basketball. We got to take a break, though. On the other side, we'll get to the top 5. And then more Cougar Sports Saturday next here on KSL.
You bought a house, or maybe you're building one, but it just isn't feeling like home. Not yet. AMC Building Materials has this undeniable knack for transforming a house into a home. Your home. How do they do that? They combine years of exceptional kitchen and bath creations with your ideas. In fact, customer satisfaction is their #1 priority. You know what you want. You know it's not going to be cookie cutter. And this is exactly where AMC shines. AMC delivers exceptional quality, bold-style kitchen and bath designs, along with their exceptional value and a timeline you'll love. Most projects are complete by the elite AMC professional installers in under 10 days. Immerse yourself in the beauty, function, and feel in person at the AMC Building Materials Showroom in Salt Lake City. Get directions and schedule your free estimate at amckitchenslc.org. AMC Building Materials, transforming your house into a home. amckitchenslc.org.
At JCW's, we think tipping might be getting a little out of hand. Like when you're asked to tip at the register before you've even been served, or when you're at the yogurt shop and find yourself serving yourself. And don't even get us started on frosted tips making a comeback. That's why at JCW's, when you pay for a 3rd-pound ranch bacon cheeseburger, that's what you pay. And no one at the register is going to stare longingly at you while you awkwardly maneuver through the tip screen for food you don't even have yet. Honestly, we're just happy to see you at any of our 5 locations in Provo, South Jordan, Lehigh, Harriman, and American Fork. So come on in and enjoy some quality time and great food with family and friends. And we promise, we won't be pushing you for a tip.
Hey, this is Chris with JCW's, and we just want to say thank you, and especially to our loyal customers. We want you to know that at JCW's, your business is all the tip we need. JCW's, quality and a lot of it.
Something amazing is happening. Technology is working harder, faster, and more reliably. It's delivering results that work. But who makes technology work? CDW. We're a full-service technology solutions provider, advising our clients and designing customized solutions so they can reach their goals and do amazing things. CDW. Make amazing happen. Find out more at cdw.com.
This is the story of the one. He's responsible for keeping a leading healthcare facility clean and safe. And he trusts Grainger's high-quality HVAC cleaning and safety products, combined with their world-class supply chain, to consistently deliver, ensuring he's covered inside and out, so he can focus on keeping his facility clean to help protect the health of everyone inside. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our US-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to the A to Z savings event at AutoZone. What are you working on today?
Yeah, I need to change my oil. I want to get a full synthetic oil.
How about Pennzoil Platinum? It's the only oil made from natural gas.
Sounds great. How much for an oil filter?
Oh, that's free.
What?
The filter is free with the oil.
Free? Really?
Really, free. It's just part of our A to Z savings event at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete and another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports.
Left wing for 3. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Last week at this time, or was I last week at this time? It was Saturday afternoon. I would have been ported in Nassau, Bahamas.
Dang.
That was a great time.
You were enjoying life?
I was throwing down unlimited ice cream. Disney Cruise, I got to tell you, one thing I love about a Disney Cruise, on the top of the deck, it's called Mickey's Festival of Foods.
This guy. Keep going. I want to hear, though. I'm envious. Keep going.
Okay. If this doesn't sell you on a cruise, Mitch has notoriously been anti-cruise.
Yeah, I have been.
Our entire existence of the show. On the top deck, there is all you can eat from basically morning until midnight. Make your own pizza, make your own tacos, burritos, enchiladas, barbecue, like brisket. There's burgers, fries, chicken nuggets, and then ice cream, unlimited, just right at your fingertips. And,
Wow.
that's not even the buffet, because every cruise has their little wing where it's a buffet, and you can go. That was separate from that.
And I'm just picturing this is like Disneyland food type like level of quality.
Honestly, better. I'd say it's better quality than Disneyland food. It was unbelievable. The reason I bring this up is at this time last week, I was missing this next segment. Even though I was enjoying all the delicious food and ice cream, I did miss this.
The Cougar Sports Saturday Top 5. Top 5. Mitch and Matt clash in a weekly battle of BYU sports knowledge. Here's the Top 5.
I'm jealous, Matt. It feels like you already got the win this week because you went on a cool cruise, Disney cruise. That's top-notch stuff. Top 5, your favorite segment of the week. And we bring in producer Nate Slack, who I think it's his life's work to anger Ute fans.
That's what I do, Mitch.
I'm kidding. It always just gives me a laugh because I always just think, the thing is that with Nate, you got to follow him on X, Nate Slack 5. You have just like the data, like on a stat, but it's a very, there's just some,
There's a reason
it's
you're
just
throwing
fun
it out
banter.
there.
It's pointed.
It's fun banter. And I tell people Nate's a fan. He's going to be a fan, and that's a fun thing. So I love the passion. That's why we have Nate on this show producing it, and he hosts the Top 5. And with this segment, if you're new to the program, Nate puts together a list, whether it's stat based, opinion based, a top 5 that Matt and I have to predict and guess. And we have to get that right. We have nothing in front of us, no advanced warning what this topic will be. So what is the topic this week, Nate, for this week's Top 5?
We're going to go a little historic on this one. So a little tough,
Okay.
but the strength of this basketball team this year has been the depth. So being able to run it out 11 guys on the court and not have to worry about who's on the floor. The 2 leading scorers for BYU this season, Richie Saunders and Yegor Demin. And Yegor's kind of surprising because I think a lot of people have been negative on him for his shooting numbers, and he hasn't been quite the scorer
They've
that I
gotten
think
better
people
of
expected.
late.
They have gotten a lot better. But he and Richie are the 2 top scorers. They combined for 757 points this season. And I thought it would be fun to look back at the best scoring tandems in BYU history. So today's Top 5 list, I've got the top 5 duos who have scored the most points for BYU in a single season.
Okay. Great.
And we'll be starting out with
Are you looking
Matt
for the
today.
year or the duo?
Just the duo. So just the 2 names of the players. Don't have to worry about how many points or the year.
I will start with Jimmer Fredette and Jackson Emery.
Number 1 on the list, Jimmer's got 1,068 points in that 2010-2011 season. Jackson Emery had 462, so 1,500 points between the 2 players.
Is Jackson, and I bring this up because tonight we'll be honoring Fouche Traore, who I think we have unanimously agreed on the show may be one of the most underrated BYU players of all time, but right there with him is Jackson Emery,
No
right?
question. And Jackson Emery, Defensive Player of the Year in the Mountain West, outstanding player, a knockdown 3-point shooter. Like Foose, got inserted into the fire as a true freshman, and he was part of that 9-win team, I think Steve Cleveland's last year. Yeah, Jackson Emery goes underappreciated. Sometimes I always even catch myself when I say, it was Jimmer's senior year. Like, Jackson Emery was awesome, too. He was so good.
And he
on
also
those teams.
sacrificed a lot to play a certain role. 'Cause
Imagine him in the portal era, what he would command. Because, hey, you want to be the star? Dude could have pulled down huge bucks.
He was dominating the high school scene when I was in high school at Lone Peak, when I was at Pleasant Grove, and he played very different at Lone Peak than he did at BYU. Like, he was a do-it-all, not quite like Jimmer, but like high-volume scorer, and just wasn't that at BYU. He's more of a 3-and-D guy, but gosh, Jackson was good, and what a compliment he was to Jimmer.
He was awesome. Mitch, you're up.
So top duos.
Top duos in terms of points for the entire season.
Let's go Michael Smith and Jeff Chapman.
Nice. Number 4 on the list. So Michael Smith had 679, Jeff Chapman 632. He had his daughter on just barely, but 1,300 points for them to in 1987, 1988.
Yeah, that was the team that almost climbed to number 1 in the AP Top 25. They won the first 17 games of that season. Then they lost to UAB in the middle of February, and the season didn't fall off the wheel. I think they still got the round of 32, but that was a really good team in BYU history, and the one group that got the highest in the polls. I think they got to number 2 in the AP Top 25, which is the highest still to date for BYU.
Back to Matt.
It gets a little hard at this point. Let's try Trent Playstead and Lee Camard.
Yeah, not top 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll go with Danny Ainge and Greg Kite.
Wow, that is a shocking one. I don't feel good about this one, and I think you'll understand why after I guess, but I just have to get it out of the way. Yoli Childs and TJ Haas.
They're number 6. They missed it by 11 points.
That suspension killed him.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't want to bring it up, but I had to give it a shot.
That was the 2020 season 5 years ago?
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah, 1249.
Again, just to reset, it's 1-1, and it's the top 5
scoring duos in BYU basketball history.
Okay. So far, we've got Jimmer Fredette, Jackson Emery.
Jackson Emery, and then Michael Smith, Jeff Chapman.
Okay. Let's go with, how about this one? McKelly Wesley and Terrell Lede.
Good poll,
That is
but not
a
a top
poll.
10. Yeah.
That is a good
I love
poll.
those dudes, man. I love those guys. I saw McKelly Wesley at the West Virginia game. I was like, there we go. I love seeing the BYU greats rolling through, man. I love that.
What about, you guys are going to chuckle with this one, but what about, oh my goodness. I'm forgetting a name all of a sudden. Chase Fisher, that's the name, and Brock Zylstra.
Holy cow.
Zylstra was like bottom of the bench. Sheesh.
You can't accuse me of not knowing some guys.
Throw up your Z's. Brock Zylstra, baby. Out of Laverne, California. Right?
Taking down Iona.
Oh, yeah. Okay, how about this one? Let's see here. Keeney Young and Lee Kumard.
Yeah, another good guess, but not top 10.
What about
KT was awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whenever I see Kendrick Perkins on TV, I'm like, thanks, Perk. You got KT to BYU. Did you know that?
KT?
That was his nickname, Keeney Young, KT.
That doesn't make any sense.
We didn't ask Greg. We didn't ask Rebel. It was KT, Keeney Young. KT. He was the man.
What about Brandon Davies and Noah Hartsock?
Okay. I see you. Oh! We're terrible at this, apparently.
It's funny because you guys have had 3 names on this that you guys rattle off but haven't been correct.
Okay, how about this one?
Wait, say that again?
You guys have said 3 correct names, but their partner hasn't been right.
I don't know if
the
there was
last 3 remaining, by the way.
I don't know if there was crossover. Devin Durant and Kresimir Kosic.
He just gave you the hint that we've already gotten one of the 2 people right.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
there's 3 duos
Right.
left, and you guys have named one name from each of the 3.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Matt Carlino and Noah Hartsock.
Let's go with Brandon Davies and Matt Carlino. We're not good at this game.
Matt Carlino is number 6 with Tyler Haas.
Matty basketball. Matty Ice. Seth Greenberg dropping the Matty Ice. I'm like, ooh, they're dropping that 111 on Stanford, baby. Cougs going to the Final Four.
Tyler Haas, Brandon Davies.
Okay.
All right, there we go.
All right.
Number 2 in 2012-2013, Tyler Haas had 780. Brandon Davies had 637.
That's a good duo.
That was a great duo.
You talk about underappreciated, Tyler Haas.
Well, yes, well said.
Which is so weird because he's a leading scorer.
All-time leading scorer, and he gets forgotten way too much.
You're right. Way too much.
Tyler Haas is stud. Let's see here.
You got to stay alive, Mitch.
I know. I'm down 2-1. Let's go with Yoli Childs and Jake Toulson.
This is oh my goodness. Let's go with, this is hard, guys. This is really hard. Elijah Bryant and Yoli Childs.
Oh!
Dang oh! That's a good pull.
That was a great pull. Well done.
Good pull.
Elijah Bryant, 636. Yoli Childs, 624. They combined for 1260 in 2017, 2018.
Wow.
Eli.
Yeah.
Elon transfer himself, Elijah Bryant.
That guy was smooth. He had a nice game.
He was 50, 40, 90, I think. Wasn't he his final year at BYU?
I think
his
he
junior
was.
year?
Yeah.
Why did that team not do better?
They were just in a rut, man. BYU basketball was in this weird WCC funk. I know that sounds like, oh, if there's a WCC fan listening and going, you didn't even win it. Well, I understand that, but there's nuance here, folks. Like, they suddenly couldn't get the Frank Jacksons of the world because they were playing in high school gyms.
Yep.
You know, we've had Tim Lacombe come on the show, and he said, like, they were losing recruits due to the high school gyms.
Yeah, they wouldn't lose Frank, and even you wonder if they were in the Big 12 during the Jabari days.
And they had not leaned yet into the analytics. They didn't, like, Mark Pope came in and then leaned into it. He's like, hey, guys, we got to beat this team by 30. I don't care. We got to beat this scrub in December by 30 so we can have a chance to maybe get into a quad one team. Like,
yeah,
that's the game they had to play. Whereas Dave Rose wasn't doing that. He ramped up the schedules, and you know, it was still like a very thin margin for error in the WCC. You know, you're seeing it in all these leagues outside of the power conferences now. It's very difficult, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I want to see a world where you can sometimes get the small team, but you know, at the end of the day, these power conferences teams, they're more battle tested. They play better teams night after night in these schedules.
Something I like about this year's team is they're not going to have a duo that's going to make this top 5 ever. And I kind of like that. I think that actually benefits them in the upcoming NCAA tournament because there's options. There's different players that could, on any given night, give you a spectacular performance. Like Dallin Hall had a season high against Iowa State. He's not a top 2 scorer on this team.
I got to ask, that's a great point. I got to ask, though, I'm wondering, is Danny Ainge on the duo list? What's the rest of the list?
Yeah,
who was his duo?
Fred Roberts.
That was actually, I'm not even kidding. That was going to be my next thought. That was going to be my next pick. It was then him, and then I was going to start getting real spicy and saying, Timo Saralainen. And I was like,
I was trying to find a partner for Jimmy Balderson, but I couldn't get one.
Jimmy Balderson.
He's got a partner now, David Nixon. He's their coach in Corner Canyon youth basketball. I've seen my son in a bantam league, and I was like, all right, son, let's see you go out there. Oh, here's Jimmy Balderson. I was ready to fly my Canadian flag. Oh, it's pretty cool. It's again small world, but good list, Nate. I think I leaned too heavily on the 80s. That was a dumb move because they didn't have the 3-point line.
Danny Ainge crossed my mind for sure, but I wasn't confident in the duo, so I stayed away from it.
And they just didn't have the 3-point line.
Yep.
You know, Elijah Bryant. If you're a 50, 40, 90 guy, that was a good move. And he's another kind of underappreciated guy. I sometimes forget, like, he was awesome, but it was just in that weird WCC phase and funk where I don't even know how to describe it. It was just like every year felt like, yep, BYU's 22-12, and I'm looking at nycbrackets.com for NIT bracketology, and my life's a mess. Let's just say we're moving on up, folks. Okay, let's take a break. On the other side, we'll talk some more BYU hoops, and let's get to some football talk too. Cougars continue spring ball. We'll get on some practice observations coming up here on Cougar Sports Saturday.
When a woman experiences an unplanned pregnancy, she often feels alone and afraid. So many times her first response is to seek out an abortion. But because of generosity of listeners like you, that search may lead her to a preborn network clinic where she will choose life, not just for her baby, but for herself. Preborn offers God's love and compassion to hurting women and then provides a free ultrasound to introduce them to the life growing inside them. This combination brings the ultimate miracle of life to life, which is why Preborn sees on average 200 babies saved every day.
It was like the beginning of my healing journey. They do an ultrasound, and that's when everything changed, because when I saw my baby and when I heard her heartbeat, that was it.
Your tax-deductible donation of $28 sponsors one ultrasound and doubles a baby's chances at life. How many babies can you save? Please donate. Just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby, or visit preborn.com/hope. That's preborn.com/hope. Sponsored by Preborn.
Get ready for a rate with a view. For a limited time, Mountain America Credit Union has auto loans as low as 5.74% APR. Explore serene valleys, roaring waterfalls, and relaxing beaches, all while enjoying a low monthly payment. Apply for your Mountain America auto loan featuring a 5.74 rate. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Loans on approved credit. Limited time offer. Offer can change or be withdrawn at any time. Offer ends March 31st, 2025.
Febreze. It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now, all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
This is the story of the one. He's responsible for keeping a leading healthcare facility clean and safe. And he trusts Grainger's high-quality HVAC cleaning and safety products, combined with their world-class supply chain, to consistently deliver, ensuring he's covered inside and out, so he can focus on keeping his facility clean to help protect the health of everyone inside. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. For years now, I've been telling you about Connecticut soft water systems that use 2/3 less salt than the others. But I've never told you exactly how they do that. Well, there are several ways, so consider this as part one in a series. Most of the softeners out there use a finicky, hard-to-adjust computer to guesstimate when to cycle, and it errs on the side of cycling too often, which means it'll burn through way too much salt way too soon. Connecticut is different. It has an all-mechanical system that measures the water precisely. No computer, no guesstimating, so it cycles only when needed. The result, Connecticut delivers perfectly soft water 24/7 using minimal salt. So why not save your lower back from carrying the 3 bags of salt when all you need is 1? Call Northern Utah's authorized Connecticut dealer, Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake. Call them now, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com and tell them Doug sent you.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to the A to Z savings event at AutoZone.
Yeah, happy to be here. Can I get some rotors?
Would you like brake pads with that?
How much are the brake pads?
Free with the rotors.
Free. Really?
Really, free.
Okay, I also need some oil.
Would you like an oil filter with that?
Yeah, how much is that?
Free with 5 quarts of oil.
Free? Really?
Really, free. It's part of the A to Z savings event.
You might as well call it A to free.
At AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our US-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
Let's talk some football, Mitch.
Let's go.
Even amidst a 7-game winning streak where the Cougars are nationally ranked on the hardwood, we still love our football. I still love spring ball, though I will admit I'm loving it less than I used to.
Shh, don't say that. We love it.
This has nothing to do with BYU. I just think the paranoia of spring in college football has made it so, even though we get to go to parts of practice, and I'm grateful for that.
Yes.
There's tremendous value in it. But we're not seeing anything meaningful really, at the end of the day. So like, there's a few tidbits and tea leaves that you can gather on. Like, I think one of them for me, let's just go back and forth with some tidbits and tea leaves. A tidbit tea leaf for me, I think Keelan Marion is going to be wide receiver 2, and I think he's going to be legit. He had a play that's been on the socials. You can find the video where he caught a crossing route from Jake Retzlaff and took it to the house. He looks confident. He looks primed and ready to be number 2.
McKay Hillstead, I thought looked really good. Broke free for a big run. It was 60, 70 yards. I don't know. We didn't have an official number on that. Broke free for a touchdown down the sideline. Falatau Sat-Tawala made a last-ditch kind of effort to go get him, but Hillstead did break away. It was clear breakaway speed, so really like the wheels from
He's
McKay
the fastest
Hillstead.
Quarterback in the room.
Yep. He was a really impressive athlete.
Upon film review, we saw it live, but seeing it again, Carson Sue, he forced the fumble on Logan Payne and recovered the fumble on a simulated 4th and 1 situation. Defense makes the stop. There's a big celebration. Because the room is so deep, I have a hard time seeing him playing meaningful linebacker snaps, but he's got the physical presence to where maybe as early as next year, he's a key contributor at linebacker.
Another tidbit on the D-line interior, Anisi Purcell is huge. He is tall, big-bodied guy. Still learning the interior, played defensive end primarily at Southern Utah. I'd still say the starters right now at D-tackle for BYU are Keanu Tanavasa and John Taumoepeu, JT. Right after him, though, Anisi Purcell, Josh Singh, probably that second unit in the D-tackles. But I think that group's going to be better than people think. I think that group viewed as a weakness before Keanu Tanavasa. He comes in that obviously gives you a star. But I think those guys, they're not household names. Purcell, Taumoepeu, Josh Singh, they're going to be pretty solid, though. I think it's going to be a really nice top 4 for BYU in the interior.
On the note of D tackles, I thought Keanu's commentary with the media this week was telling that he spoke so highly about the chemistry and camaraderie.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a big point last year that helped BYU get to that level, and I like that a newcomer is coming in and is just welcomed right in and feels that right away, because culture and chemistry in football, man, it means a lot more than I think people give it credit. And for that to seemingly carry through to this next team, I think that's an important development.
Trayson Bourget showed off the arm strength. He had a deep shot that was intended for LeMason Waller. Waller and Marcus McKenzie, they got tangled up and ended up being an incomplete pass. But I thought the arm strength from Bourget, pretty nice. And again, we just haven't seen much of Bourget's arm taking shots downfield. And I thought it was just a nice little moment there for Bourget, the Western Michigan transfer, that he can stretch the field and he can take it downfield.
I'm still concerned with Jake's accuracy. There was some errant throws yesterday in the media observation. Badly missed Carson Ryan on a crosser and was high on another in route on to Nakua. He may be much more accurate than I'm giving him credit to. I haven't seen that much of spring ball yet, Mitch, but I need that to get better by the start of games in the fall. He's got to improve on that 60% completion number.
But it was fun stuff to be there at BYU spring football. Saw some recruits there, observing practice. Saw some former players as well. Always good times going down to BYU spring practice. After the practice concluded, players were going through a workout post-practice, which was kind of a new
stretch heavy,
and they had this little tag attached to them. They then put the tag in this almost like Pelican briefcase, but I tried to ask Kalani what was different, and he didn't hit on that. But got to take a break.
ABC News. I'm Dave Packer. A new GOP-led stopgap funding bill to keep the government running for a while.
ABC News is learning House Republicans have unveiled a new proposal to fund the government. The bill would fund the government at current levels through the end of September 2025. Speaker Johnson is planning to hold a vote in the House on Tuesday without the backing of Democrats.
ABC's Phil Lipoff, the 99-page bill would increase defense spending by about $6 billion more than fiscal 2024 levels, while non-defense spending is about $13 billion lower than last fiscal year. A 14-year-old facing a murder charge in New Jersey's largest city. Authorities say he killed a Newark police officer, Joseph Azcana, in a Friday night shooting. 5 people are in custody. Another officer was shot but suffering non-life-threatening injuries. Russian airstrikes across Ukraine intensifying with an overnight pounding of energy facilities and residences, killing at least 20 people, injuring at least 55 others. And today, dozens gathering near the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv to protest against President Trump's decision to pause military aid to and intelligence sharing with Ukraine. David Plaster, a former U.S. Army combat medic, has lived in Ukraine since 2012.
I'm not giving up hope that President Trump will change his thoughts. Recently, yesterday, I believe, he tweeted that he was considering harsher sanctions on Russia because of their bombings. But we'll see what happens.
The blackout includes timely U.S. satellite photo intelligence. In Israel, relatives of hostages still being held in Gaza repeating their calls today for the release of the remaining captives. Zahiro Shahar Moore, nephew of hostage Abraham Munder.
The vast majority of the Israeli public wants all remaining hostages to be returned home immediately, and they are willing to pay the price for that. The vast majority strongly opposes continuing the war.
You're listening to ABC News.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Struggling with back taxes or unfiled returns? Owe the IRS $10,000 or more? With the IRS ramping up enforcement, taxpayers across the country are turning to tax relief helpers. Call 800-885-0622 now. End IRS stress today. Stop collection efforts, wage garnishments, and sleepless nights. Tax relief helpers can help you or your business settle your tax debt quickly and affordably. Call the Tax Relief Helpers hotline at 800-885-0622. That's 800-885-0622. Start your relief today.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete and another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports.
Left wing for three. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Welcome back in. It's Cougar Sports Saturday on an absolutely loaded Saturday of BYU news. BYU basketball later tonight, 8 p.m. tip. They host the Runnin' Utes of Utah. And this is a meaningful game because a win against Utah continues the winning streak, but more importantly, it gets you a double bye heading into the Big 12 tournament. And see what you want about the Big 12 tournament. I'm of the belief that you do not want to expend too much energy in that thing. You want to be fully healthy and rested for the tournament that matters, March Madness. And so getting a double bye would help in that regard. We'll get back to this big rivalry game. And, of course, we also touched on if you're new to the show, earlier today we discussed the breaking news that BYU has moved on in a mutual parting of ways with their women's basketball coach, Amber Whiting. All of that content exists on the podcast feed, Cougar Sports Saturday, wherever you get podcasts. Right now, though, spring football is going on. And on a day like today, it feels like 3 hours isn't enough time to break down all this news, but we got to touch on some spring football. Week 2 is wrapped up. This next week, there'll be a scrimmage, and it's hard to believe we're almost halfway through spring football. Earlier this week, I had a chance to catch up with McKay Hillstead, the quarterback who's in a thick of a backup quarterback race with Trayson Bourget. Hillstead had some big plays earlier in the week. He had a 70-ish yard touchdown run. We touched on that and a lot more. Here's my conversation from earlier in the week with BYU quarterback McKay Hillstead.
Week 2 of spring ball. How's it feel to be taking snaps and getting practice reps after a great season last year?
Yeah, it's been super good. Obviously, that was something, just reps is something that I haven't got the most of up to this point. So getting full swing into the offense and just getting more and more reps has been super positive. So I've had a great time so far, learning a lot, and excited for the rest of spring. So yeah.
How did you develop and for a backup quarterback who doesn't get a lot of reps during the season? How do you improve and what does that kind of look like?
I think just taking every practice like you're the starting quarterback. Focusing on the the game plan and what the defense you're going against is running. I think is super important. The whole time while the game's going, I'm hearing the play call in my helmet and I'm running through the play in my head. Just all that little stuff like that. And I think that's a super good process. Being at Utah State, played that first year there, didn't get that full experience of like sitting back and learning, which I feel like I got a really good view of this last year, especially with Jake, and that was super positive, and I was very appreciative of that, and I'm excited for everything in the future. So yeah.
What's the quarterback room like right now? There's only 3 of you. Then there's A-Rod, and is it Matt Mitchell who's in there as well? What are the meetings like right now?
Yeah, we got a super good dynamic. I think everyone's talking. We're all giving each other our opinions on plays, which is super valuable, just because it's not only your eyes, but other experienced quarterbacks and smart guys in the room. And that's not even to mention like our coaches. Like our coaches obviously know ball super well, so it's great to get their input, but it's also great to get the input from the other quarterbacks because we all see it a little bit differently.
How collaborative is it when reviewing plays on maybe having creative ideas or even saying these are the concepts that I like? Like what's that kind of give and take between you guys, the quarterbacks, and the coaches?
Yeah, I think I think Coach Mitchell and Coach A-Rod do a great job of asking us questions, and we're always drawing stuff up and just getting a good feel for the plays. And obviously we trust them to make the schemes that are going to work. And obviously based on this last year they did. We had a super great year, so we trust them. But I think there's also like we'll weigh in on stuff and say how we like to read certain things, and they're flexible in that way. So that's super nice too.
Joined by McKay Hillstead here on Cougar Sports Saturday. How much of spring ball is experimental, whether it be installing new schemes, new plays, just how much of it is trying things to see what you want to carry over to the fall, and how much of it is truly development and preparation for the season?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like, obviously we want full mastery. We got a lot of new guys coming in, and we want full mastery of the things that we know that we're going to do no matter what. So we install all that base information, and we want to be really good at that stuff. And then I think we're also experimenting on new things. The coaches are always doing off-season work and seeing what plays are going to be best for us. And then we'll implement some of those plays, see if we like them, and, all that good stuff. So, yeah.
Earlier in the week, head coach Kalani Sitake mentioned that spring's a good time for the quarterbacks to maybe try things that they wouldn't necessarily try in the fall. Is that something you guys think about and talk about? Like, hey, let's push the envelope in terms of aggression and opportunities?
It's hard to say, really. I think I just like to play the play, and whatever happens on the play, I'll do my best. Yeah, I think, but. Obviously, at the same time, you do want to put yourself in a position where you're growing and taking further steps. So, yeah, if that makes you a little bit more aggressive, so be it. But regardless, you still want to be making the right play and not, turning the ball over and things like that. So we stay away from that, but, do our best to try new things as well.
You had a big TD run. Walk us through that play and how you kind of broke out to the outside and showed some wheels as well, which was impressive.
Yeah, it's just a RPO read, really, and the end crashes, so we either give it to the running back or pull it. We're responsible for the end man on the line of scrimmage. He crashed, and then I just took off and ran. I got a really good block from the receiver, and then just hit the sideline, and then just ran. I was getting tired. I haven't ran like that in a little while. But, yeah, no, it was super good. It felt good to use my athleticism, and that's something that I've been wanting to incorporate more and more because that's something that's a part of my game. So just want to keep using that and doing my best to do that.
On the note of your athleticism, do you think that's maybe I don't want to say appreciated, but maybe undervalued part of your game?
I don't know exactly. I think, not really. I don't want to be a guy that's like, oh, I'm going to run every play. I just want to use it when it's the best. So I don't think so. I think you just got to use it at the right time. So
a few questions on the past and what happened between the Alamo Bowl win and now in spring ball. That
big win against the Alamo Bowl, caps off a great season, 11-win season. What were the end-of-season interviews like with Aaron Roderick, and what was the plan that he laid out for you this season?
Yeah, had the meeting, just went over all of our success as an offense, which, was super good. Obviously, we had a great season, and then just talked about, the plan of, being in competition right now and just developing as a player. And, I'm going to be getting more and more reps, which is something that's super valuable for me, and just continue to develop, have full mastery of the offense, just things like that.
Have they, when I say they, I guess Aaron Roderick and Matt Mitchell and maybe even Kalani, how have they outlined how the battle will be to maybe be the number 2 quarterback behind Jake?
Yeah, I don't really know. Like, I know, me and Trayson, we get the same amount of reps, so I think they're just looking at that body of work and then making a decision, just based upon, objective measures that they have. So that's all I really know. That's all I really think about. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm just worried about maximizing my own personal development and taking an upward trajectory in my own game, and that's kind of been my focus. So, yeah.
What's it like being with Jake? Jake had a breakout year last year. What's the room like with Jake kind of at the helm?
Yeah, Jake's got a lot of experience, knows the offense super well, and that's something I appreciate. I always ask him questions if I need to know things. And obviously, like within our quarterback room, there's being a small amount of guys, we're able to collaborate and talk with each other on how we see things, and that's super valuable too from Jake, who played in, the whole season last year and knows a lot of football. So, yeah.
Did Aaron Roderick and Matt Mitchell, did they kind of mention that this would be a year where there are a lot less guys and there might be more opportunity?
I don't know exactly. I haven't asked those questions. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, we'll see.
What do you make of the playmakers on this offense? There's so much returning experience. Some of them not playing, right? Like Chase Roberts not kind of recovering from injury, but they're still Keelan Marion, JoJo Phillips. I'm probably missing 30 or so guys, but what do you make of the skill positions offensively?
Yeah, we got a lot of ballers, a lot of guys that can make plays and a lot of guys that, put the ball in their hands, good things are going to happen. And that's something that, I appreciate as a facilitator, as a quarterback, having trust in those guys. And that's all the way from the guys that are running with the ones and all to the threes. We got a lot of playmakers all around. I think we got a lot of depth, which is super valuable. So, yeah.
BYU's obviously got a long history of great quarterback play. In what ways has maybe that network of quarterbacking manifested itself to you, to Jake? Do you guys come around? Or are they available to communicate with? What does that look like?
Yeah, like we got quarterbacks, that show up. Like I saw Jaron not too long ago, and say what's up to him. A lot of guys that are super friendly and want the success of other BYU quarterbacks. So that's valuable. I appreciate that support, and yeah, we'll see, ex-alumni. Or just alumni, sorry. all the time, and yeah, free to go chat with them and have a conversation. They got a lot of great input because BYU quarterbacks know ball super well. So yeah.
Last few things for you, McKay. You didn't play last year, but from your observing from the sidelines, what'd you make of Big 12 play? How competitive it was, the atmospheres. What'd you think of that?
Yeah, it was super cool. Coming from a Mountain West school, it's obviously a completely different environment. Like Lavelle is packed every Saturday, and that's something that's super cool. Like we got great fans and, a lot of energy in that stadium. And I think, even when we went to, opposing colleges, always a live game and, great competition. And that's something that I think is cool, like I'm interested in bettering myself as a player and like playing against good competition. So I think that's cool that we all have the ability to do that.
Last thing for you on the note of bettering yourself as a player, what specific personal goals do you want to accomplish here in spring ball?
Yeah, I think a big thing for me is just, getting more and more reps in the offense. And, obviously with there being less quarterbacks, we get to throw to the receivers a little bit more and just building that chemistry with those guys. I think that's super important. But yeah, I just think, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, just full mastery of the playbook. Like it's not saying that I'm not knowledgeable on it right now. Like I feel super good about it right now, but I think, there's next steps and you can just keep on learning it more and more. And I think that's something that I'm interested in doing and just want to better myself in that way.
Okay, thanks for the time. Stay healthy in spring.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thanks a ton.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
Thanks a bunch. Appreciate it.
You too. Take care.
Yeah.
Good stuff from McKay Hillstead. Really an interesting battle, that backup quarterback position. Jake played all of last season. He was healthy, but that's not the norm for the BYU quarterback in recent years. So whoever wins that backup job, they got to be ready because you never know when you're going to be called into action. Good stuff from McKay Hillstead. Taking a break on the other side, we're going to switch gears and get back to BYU hoops here on Cougar Sports Saturday.
Get a head start on the warmer months ahead with a $29 AC tune-up from Yes Air Conditioning, Heating, Plumbing, and Electric. Yes offers licensed technicians and an exceptional service guarantee to give you peace of mind and help prevent expensive breakdowns. Ensure your system is working at peak efficiency and help save money on energy costs with a $29 AC tune-up from Yes Air Conditioning, Heating, Plumbing, and Electric. Call now or visit theyesmancan.com for details, terms, and conditions. Just say yes.
There she is, founder and CEO. High five.
Dave can't stop celebrating with every business owner in town.
All right, Baker Man, high five.
He's sharing the excitement of big savings with the Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee.
Ooh, up top, bike shop. Yeah.
It's 5 years of gig speed internet.
Quick, high five.
5 years of advanced security.
5 years.
And 5 years of a great rate that won't change.
Yeah, law partners. Chamberlain, Messelthorpe, Dubois.
All from the company with 99.9% network reliability. Switch today and get the 5-year price lock guarantee.
5 years.
It's back, but only for a limited time.
Woo!
Powering 5 years of savings, powering possibilities. Comcast Business.
Can't forget you, voiceover guy.
Ah, thanks, Dave.
High five.
Ends 3/9/25. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge for new customers on qualifying internet bundle, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
Meanwhile, at Xfinity.
So, influencer life going well?
Oh, yeah. I'm up to 32 followers.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah, posting my tap dancing videos is easier than ever because we engineered Xfinity Internet with 99.99% network reliability.
Plus, Xfinity Mobile with Wi-Fi Power Boost gives you ultra-fast Wi-Fi at home and on the go. But wait, tap dancing? You don't tap dance.
Hey, what I lack in skill, I make up with passion.
Do more of what you love and love how fast you do it with Xfinity Internet and mobile. Through April 21st, get 300 megabit Xfinity Internet and one unlimited mobile line together for $25 a month for 1 year and save over $1,000 in your first year versus other major carriers. Plus, ask how to get iPhone 16e on us. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment tax and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. Savings compared to Verizon 5G Internet plus one unlimited welcome line and AT&T Internet 300 plus one unlimited starter SL line. Xfinity Internet required. Actual savings vary.
These days, losing weight is such a roller coaster. You try the new medications, and when you stop taking them, you gain it all back. Today is a new day.
Today is a new day.
Today is a new day. Let Soda Weight Loss teach you the healthy, natural way to let go of the weight for good.
Do you know how good it feels to let go of 51 pounds of belly fat? And I did it without drugs, shots, or hunger. Because Soda Weight Loss works. Just look at all the Google reviews and all the thousands of before and after pictures.
For a limited time, 2 people can start with Soda Weight Loss for the price of 1.
What does that mean? It's more fun?
Double the motivation, double the results, half the cost.
The best decision I've made in a long time was just to call Soda Weight Loss.
Take advantage of Soda Weight Loss 2-for-1 partner program. Visit sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
I'm Rod with the Save Right team at Realty Path. I also own Save Right Mortgage. When building this new and disruptive business model, my attorney said, quote, "You'll rock the boat and make your competitors mad. There's no way they can compete with the value Save Right offers home buyers." She's right. Other real estate agents and mortgage lenders can't compete with Save Right. However, Utah home buyers love Save Right. Save Right home buyers get bankbuster loans with below market interest rates. Save Right clients buy bigger, nicer homes. Their monthly payments are hundreds less. Bankbuster loans save home buyers hundreds of thousands in interest. Start with a rate in the 2s. Call 801-APPROVE or visit SaveRight.com. Start with a rate in the 2s. Call 801-APPROVE or visit SaveRight.com.
Welcome back into Cougar Sports Saturday. Hour number 3 rolls on here on the legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio. Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte with you. Recently caught up with BYU 4-star signee center, one of the best rim protectors in high school basketball this year, Xaven Staten from Utah Prep, and discussed his path to Utah Prep and also the chemistry between him and AJ DeBance and his thoughts on being a BYU Cougar next year. How's things been going this year here in Hurricane? Last year, getting some development before your college career?
It's been good. I mean, that was the main thing I needed to move up here for, was development and just to make myself a better player. But being surrounded by all these guys, especially AJ, Anthony, Jackson Kiss, all the people that are really just truly making me better person, better player. But it's been great. I've been really enjoying the experience, getting to know this kind of play style and playing under Coach Smart. It's a way different thing than I'm used to, but I'll need to know it sometime. So I've been really enjoying it.
AJ, we're here in Hurricane, and AJ's got the McDonald's All-American recognition. How much have you enjoyed starting that chemistry and a relationship with AJ before you get to BYU?
Oh yeah, I mean, that guy, he's a great guy. I mean, the basketball and the talent speaks for itself, but the behind the scenes, the character, he's just a great person. He's great to be around. He really cares for everybody. He's just ultimately a great guy. He's tested me in practice, tried to dunk on me a few times, but that's all love. That's what we're going to be seeing for the next year or so. So I'm just taking it all in, enjoying it, and we're just building that chemistry early, like you said.
You love that. Yeah, I know he's a fierce competitor. Do you get pretty competitive as well in these practices?
Oh yeah, 100%. That's like I said, why I kind of moved here was for that competition. That makes you better. Iron sharpens iron. So me being a shot blocker, him being him, trying to go dunk on people, and it doesn't matter who's in his way. It makes us both better.
I want to go back to when you signed and committed to BYU. What went into that decision? Because BYU kind of came in late in your recruitment, and I know Kevin Young was, hired in spring, so it was a little bit naturally going to be a later arrival for BYU. But what made such an impression from BYU staff that said, I got to listen to these guys even more, and ultimately sign?
Well, as I started to learn about them more, I didn't know much about them, but when I learned about them more, their NBA, development, I talk a lot about development because that's really what I need in my game right now, as far as physically and just, on the court stuff. But I really was just looking for that and just seeing what the best situation was for that. And they presented that to me. I went on the visit. It was truly a beautiful place, a place that I could see myself in. And just being, around those guys, that coaching staff, it just ultimately was an option for me.
What was Kevin Young's, communication style with you and your family, and the way they presented the NBA readiness? Because he's talked with us in the media. It's not hypothetical. He's got a background in this. How did he kind of present that to you and your family?
Well, yeah, like you said, he's done this before. He's been in this situation. Obviously, he hasn't coached college before, but he knows what it takes to get to the next level, and that's something that I want to do. And so if that's the case, and I want to take that to the next level as well. And I felt like that was the best option for me in that case. But he was just presenting, the big men he's coached. He's coached KD, not necessarily my sort of comparison, but I have certain attributes that are similar. And so just being able to take that with me and internalize that and be able to just put that in my game, that was really what sold.
It was pretty fun to see, I think on social media, on Instagram, you and AJ watching that BYU-Arizona game. What do you think of the on-court product that Coach Young in year one with this current BYU team, what they're putting out right now?
Man, I mean, a lot of people doubted them at the beginning of the season. Obviously, it's going to take time when you have a new coach, an NBA coach. That's the same thing what we're going through right now. We have an NBA coach coming down to high school. They've never done that before, and yet the production of it has just been insane. And being able to see that, especially them breaking the top 25, that's just amazing to see, and they're only going to keep growing from there. That game was an amazing game to watch for us, just to see where we're going to be at next year. We're going to be in that same spot, same shoes. So just having to fill them and take on our role.
Last couple things here, and what got you into the game of basketball? I know you started ninth grade. So what led you to getting involved with basketball? Was it just growth spurt, or was it something more that made you really become basketball, make you that your career?
I legit just had a growth spurt. It was my COVID year. I grew from 8th grade to 9th grade. I grew about 7 inches. I went from like 6'2" to 6'9", and so it was just a huge growth spurt. I used to play football, and so I was like, I'm done with this. And so I ended up starting basketball, and it kind of just shot up from there.
Did you get a chance to go see a BYU football game at all?
No, I haven't. I was actually just talking to Chase because he was here. But I'll definitely be up there next year. He'll still be there, so I'm definitely going to be tuning into the games a lot for sure.
I was going to say, BYU football coach Kalani Sitake's been like, we could find you some defensive end role or something. Last thing, when do you arrive at BYU, and just the goals that you have in your development and how you want to evolve as a player when you get to BYU?
Yeah, I mean, just get stronger, just, put on some weight, stuff like that. I feel like just the skill development will all come through, but as far as that early session, I feel like just my strength will come in like very clutch, basically. Like I feel like I'll really be able to, grow, especially with Coach Wiz. He's a great strength coach. He helped with Giannis' transformation, so I feel like that's something that I'm just really putting my trust in, and I'm just going to continue to work at.
Well, looking forward to seeing you at BYU, and best of luck the rest of the way here at Utah Prep.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And that was Xaven Staten, BYU basketball signee with Utah Prep here on KSL News Radio. We're taking a break. On the other side, we'll get to more BYU versus Utah breakdown as the Cougs get ready to take on the Utes tonight in Provo here on KSL.
Let's talk about an ugly word, debt. I'm Navy veteran Phil Briggs, and at my lowest point, I was drowning in credit card debt until I turned to Navy Federal Credit Union. Their Cash Rewards and Cash Rewards Plus cards now offer a 0% intro APR on credit card balance transfers for 12 months. So dominate your debt with Navy Federal Credit Union, where our members are the mission. Navy Federal is insured by NCUA. After the intro rate expires, variable APRs are 14.9% to 18% based on credit worthiness. Rates are subject to change. ATM fees for cash advances are up to $1 at non-Navy Federal ATMs. Offer ends March 31st, 2025.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear. Call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Common Spirit Health has expert orthopedic care that gets you back at it and back to your best. Find skilled orthopedic physicians at Common Spirit locations who specialize in general orthopedics and repair of hips, knees, shoulders, and hands, so you can return to running races or chasing the grandkids. Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Orthopedic care with human kindness is here. Visit mountain.commonspirit.org.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group, and I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney, and the truth is I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney or if I look like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare without me being an attorney. And I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call, and you will not talk to an attorney. And I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare, or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. Call 800-948-7878. That's 800-948-7878. 800-948-7878.
How does a soccer club born in an unlikely place?
Utah? You sure you want to do that in Utah?
Built with players no one else wanted.
We knew no one believed in us.
Reached the league's highest heights.
We finally did it. It was like just this feeling of getting to the top of the mountain.
How does that same team find a way to shatter expectations in the midst of a fight for its own survival?
Our club is burning to the ground as we speak.
I'm Amy Donaldson, and in a new podcast, Making of a Moment, the RSL story, we take a closer look at one of those iconic sports moments.
Soccer is a crazy game, and we saw it firsthand tonight.
And unravel how knowing the truth of these moments can transform what they mean.
I just kind of got chills right now thinking about it.
Making of a Moment, the RSL story, is available now. Follow us at makingamomentpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday. It's complete. Touchdown! Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports.
Left wing for three. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Welcome back into Cougar Sports Saturday. Hope you enjoyed those conversations with BYU football quarterback McKay Hillstead and future BYU basketball signee Xaven Staten. Exciting future ahead for those guys. We'll see what McKay Hillstead does this year with football, and Staten we'll see next year with the BYU basketball team. And that BYU basketball program is in action tonight. Your number 23 Cougars are taking on the Utah Utes. 8 p.m. tip off at 7. TV broadcast on ESPNU. Radio call will be here on KSL. Matt, let's dive into the three-pointer.
We do this all basketball season long. The key stat, bold prediction, players to watch. We'll start things off with a key stat. Mine, Mitch, is the number 22. BYU is 22-0 this season. If they have the lead at the 5-minute mark left in the game, I think they will. I really love that stat, too, because it shows me that they can close games out. If they have leads at that point in the game, they're going to get it done. 22-0. I think they'll be 23-0 by the end of tonight.
You took the number away from me. I'm going with 22 as well. That's Richie Saunders. 4 of the last 5 games, he scored at least 22 points for BYU. The lone game where he did not score more than 22 was West Virginia last Saturday. Wasn't needed. Foose had a huge game to fill that void as that 20-plus point scorer, but 22-plus points in 4 of the last 5 games from Richie Saunders. He's been brilliant. He's in the top 4 in scoring in Big 12 conference play this season. Richie continues.
Is he a lock for first team?
He's got to be. There's no question, because when you factor in to how his team is playing as well, I think that's, you can go with a guy from UCF, Keyshawn Hall, leading scorer, great, but his team tanked. After that loss to BYU, they have nosedived completely. Do you go with him in first team? No, I feel like you got to go with elite performers and guys that are on teams that are among the top teams in this conference. I think Richie Saunders should absolutely be a lock.
Key players. I'll start with Utah, a key player for me. Hunter Erickson. I tweeted this out earlier today, but there are 2 players on Utah's roster tonight that started their careers in the Marriott Center and will be effectively ending their careers in the Marriott Center. Hunter Erickson is one of them. Caleb Lohner, the other one. Hunter Erickson scares me a lot more than Caleb Lohner. Erickson was key in that win at home. His free throw shooting late in that game was big time. He's got the capability off the bench to bury a couple of threes. And if he puts in 15 or 20, then I feel like it could be a more competitive game. So Hunter Erickson for me on the visiting side. What about you for Utah?
For me, it's Ezra Sarr. He was huge for the Utes in that last meeting against BYU. He had 26 points, 11 of 15 from the field. And he still had some big games since. He's had, a couple games, even recently, last week against ASU, had 25. but his season high was against BYU. He was 11 of 15 from the field. I remember you and I were there at that game, sitting on the media row, and it was just, we're almost like looking at each other in disbelief of how is this guy going to keep getting just wide open slam dunks. That's things like, it's one thing to get a dunk, okay, no one's around him.
Right.
I don't expect that to be happening tonight, but he got to keep an eye on him because he had a huge game against BYU last go around.
For the Cougs, it is Dallin Hall. How does he follow up a great performance against Iowa State? He had that monster alley-oop, which was so unexpected. It was so awesome. The lob from Trey Stewart to Dallin Hall. He's cut off the mustache. I know we've already talked about that, but does that affect his recent surge of powers? So Dallin Hall, to me, is the X factor going forward for the NCAA tournament. If he can give you double-digit scoring and take care of the basketball and be reliable in clutch situations like he's been, I think this team can go to the Sweet 16 and beyond if the draw is right. And that's why this, we've debated about 7 seed, 6 seed. That's why this is so critical. Because if you get a bad draw, you could be one and done. So if the draw goes right, I think Dallin Hall is the key to making a deep run.
When you always like your odds better, when you're a 6 seed, 5 seed, it's just the odds say. I know last year BYU's fresh off losing as a 6 seed, but they tend to be in your favor when you're one of those lower seeds. For me, it's Richie Saunders, and not because, is he going to show up tonight? Yes, he's going to show up, but I think, like you with Dallin Hall, I tend to lean on these in-state guys in these sort of matchups, and when you look at Richie, he's been in this game now, 3 times, 2 of them in losses, and the one game where he won, he didn't have as big of an impact as he's had the last couple of years. So this is a big opportunity for him to get a win where he is a key contributor in this rivalry. And I just always think back to a couple months ago when he talked to us about how much this game means to him. That's why I kind of want to highlight Richie because, yes, we know he's an all Big 12 guy, but this takes on greater significance beyond brackets, beyond all of that. This is in-state rivalry. This means a ton. This is him as a kid wanting to take down the Utes. Let's see it tonight in Provo.
And it's revenge from that earlier game where they had so many opportunities to beat that team, and they let it slip away. You got to believe this team is hungry to get revenge against Utah. Bold predictions now, Mitch. My bold prediction is going to be that on senior night, that Fus Traore eats a royal... No, I'm kidding.
We should give him one after. Give him one a Royal Cougar Tail after. That'd be great content. Hey, Foose, enjoy, man. You're not playing until Thursday, assuming they win, of course.
Okay, before we get to the bowl predictions, a staple of senior night was Mark Pope taking the microphone. Hey, guys, don't go anywhere. Right? Do you think Kevin Young grabs the mic after this one? Or do they just do their normal thing?
I'm going to guess no. Look, Kevin Young's all business, and we learned that at Midnight Madness and I loved it, and I've tried to keep it going when I see it. Bingo 3. It's just he's all business. That didn't have the lose yourself in the music. I want it. That's not KY, man.
Nope.
He's all ball. He's all business. So I'd love it because I think Cougar Nation loves hearing from Kevin Young. I love hearing from him.
Me too.
It's insightful stuff. I learn more about the game listening to Kevin Young, but I don't think that's his style. So I'm not expecting it, but I think it'd be cool.
My real bold prediction is that Foose, and this has nothing to do with the exclusive Cougar Tales either, but I think Foose will have a double-double tonight. I think this is a game where you need Foose to play. You need him to play well. He needs to rebound well. He needs to score. It can't just be solely Keita taking on this big front line of Utah. Foose is going to have minutes, and he needs to play well, and I think he will. Double-double for Foose.
I'm going with the front court, too. We're kind of in lockstep with some of our takes here on this three-pointer, but I'm going to go with, it might be bold because of the size of Utah. I'm going to say BYU has 5+ blocks in this game. I think Keba Keita has a big game. I think this one's going to be intense for him. You saw signs of that in Huntsman Center. He was kind of chirping a little bit with the fans, and I liked it. That's fun. That's part of the rivalry. But I'm going to say BYU 5+ blocks in this one against the Utes, who are one of the biggest teams size-wise in college basketball.
You think there's going to be any weird shenanigans or technicals?
No, I don't think so. Not tonight. I feel like this is a little bit different feeling when there's an interim head coach, and of course Utah's going to start their Alex Jensen era next season. A little bit different feeling when it's not the full collection. Like this is a staff in transition, a team in transition. They're probably wondering what's next. They heard from Alex Jensen on Zoom after he got officially hired, but it's a tough spot for Utah. I'm sure they'll be fired up, but part of you wonders, at least I am, like, how much are those guys kind of wondering, I need to start plotting my next move to the portal if they're underclassmen? What are the seniors feeling to not have their head coach? I know Josh Eilert's a good dude, but it just feels like there's a little bit different tone when it's an interim coach, and it's a team that's gone through a little bit.
Last thing, and then we'll take a break and then give you our score predictions on the other side. Royal Night. What do you think of Royal Night? What do you think of this blueberry cougar tail? I know we haven't tasted it yet, but do you like these kind of themes?
I do, and typically I've always associated BYU basketball with white, student section wearing white. Do we know if the Rock, producer Nate, the Rock's they're being asked to wear Royal too? I think that's cool. I've always just seen the Rock in white, so I'm kind of excited just from that visual to see that student section from the front row up to the back row, all in Royal. I think that'll look amazing, and look, Royal is the preferred color, I think, for most of Cougar Nation. Yep. They love that color, and to have it, I don't recall this either. Has there ever been a Royal out in the Marriott Center?
No, that's a good point. It's not making.
I think it's the first that I can remember. I've seen many whiteouts, but not a Royal out. So I'm excited to see it. I think it'll look great.
I do too. I'm looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun. Last home game of the year, always kind of bittersweet. And then the next time we step foot in the Marriott Center, it'll be the A.J. DeBonsa era.
Wow, that's crazy. It's exciting, but that's also a good sign because that means you're not going to the NIT. You're not playing postseason games in the Marriott Center. You're going to be playing them in March Madness, and that's where this team belongs, and exciting times ahead for BYU. They're going to be taking on the Utes tonight, 8 p.m. tip. Listen to the game right here on KSL, and listen. You can watch the game, on ESPNU. We'll be inside the arena with coverage.
ESPNU for this?
Yeah.
Not even the dose?
It was originally ESPN, ESPN2, or ESPNU. A couple weeks back, they relegated this game to ESPNU.
It's one of the hottest teams in the
They
country.
relegated it, keep in mind, it was right before BYU lost to Cincy. So it was kind of that moment. I think it was right after the Arizona game.
That's got to be a bit of a regret from ESPN.
Right? Putting this game on ESPNU, a nationally ranked BYU team, come on now. But okay, it is what it is. BYU and Utah tonight, 8 p.m. tip. We'll give our score predictions next year on Cougar Sports Saturday.
Got an app idea? You're sitting on a gold mine, but stuck on how to bring it to life? Meet Dev Simplify, your superheroes for web and mobile app creation. DevSimplify.com. Just ask Coach Mike with Practice Planner Live.
As a coach, technology isn't my strength, but Dev Simplify took my idea for Practice Planner Live and turned it into the top practice planning platform on the market. They transformed my non-technical vision into an incredible web and mobile app that coaches like me now can't live without.
See, you don't need to be a tech wizard. Your idea plus Dev Simplify's superhero software skills equals a big win. Right, Mike?
I had big plans for my app, and with Dev Simplify's help, it's now a thriving must-have platform for all coaches.
Dev Simplify, turning your brilliant ideas into amazing web and mobile. No tech skills required. Visit DevSimplify.com and let the magic begin. DevSimplify.com.
At Intermountain Children's Health, we've created a bold plan called Primary Promise to build the nation's model health system for children. Help us achieve this once-in-a-generation vision so together we can bring the world-class care of Primary Children's Hospital closer to home for every child in our communities. For more than a century, Primary Children's has kept the child first and always. Join us for the next 100 years. To learn more, visit primarypromise.org.
If something were to blow off of your car, you would be responsible for the damage, but what happens if an orange construction barrel damages your car? I'm KSL investigator Matt Gephardt, and I'll show you what you need to know before driving through a construction zone on a windy day. Monday at 10.
Feeling frustrated? Ignored? Deceived? It's time to get Gephardt. Get Gephardt. Weeknights at 10 on KSL.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. For years now, I've been telling you about Connecticut soft water systems that use 2/3 less salt than the others. But I've never told you exactly how they do that. Well, there are several ways, so consider this as part one in a series. Most of the softeners out there use a finicky, hard-to-adjust computer to guesstimate when to cycle, and it errs on the side of cycling too often, which means it'll burn through way too much salt way too soon. Connecticut is different. It has an all-mechanical system that measures the water precisely. No computer, no guesstimating, so it cycles only when needed. The result, Connecticut delivers perfectly soft water 24/7 using minimal salt. So why not save your lower back from carrying the 3 bags of salt when all you need is 1? Call Northern Utah's authorized Connecticut dealer, Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake. Call them now, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com and tell them Doug sent you.
Do you have some money in a savings account? If you do, I want to suggest that you earn more money on that money by transferring your savings account over to UCCU.
Utah Community Credit Union is offering high-rate savings options with yields up to 5.05%. That is a lot higher than any savings account.
Right, so your average savings account is 0.5%, 0.5%, but UCCU has these 9-month savings certificates at a whopping 5.05% rate of return.
Now, savings certificates, like a savings account, they're great ways to earn a safe return on your money, but the difference is a savings account, you deposit, you withdraw, but with a savings certificate, you just make the deposit and you let your money earn some money for you.
For 9 months in this case, or if you want to let it stay in a little longer and earn more money, there's a 15-month savings certificate as well. But either way, you're going to be saving so much money at UCCU.
5.05%, that's more than 5 times higher than a standard savings account.
Just go to uccu.com, select a high-yield savings option, and supercharge your savings.
At Utah Community Credit Union, you're going to love where you bank.
Welcome back into Cougar Sports Saturday on this Saturday, March 8th, final regular season day of college basketball. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte with you. Score prediction time, Matt, BYU and Utah. Look, I know we've talked about it today and acknowledged all the angles, rivalry, this and that, but I'll admit I come into this game feeling really good about BYU's chances to not only win, but maybe win big.
I'm with you. I predicted this earlier in the year, that BYU would win by double digits. Now they lost at Salt Lake City, but I'm doubling down on my prediction in this game. I think this will be a dominant BYU victory. I will go 86-70. A 16-point win for BYU. I think there's a lot of things going their way. Obviously, they're playing their best basketball of the year. They are at home. And then I think most importantly, there's still the sour taste of the loss in the rivalry game, so there's motivation there. And then on top of that, the carrot at the kind of the end of the string, Mitch, is that double bye in the Big 12 championship game. So this isn't just a throwaway game. There's a lot to play for here. And I look, these players, we talked to Richie before the first meeting this year, and he acknowledged that he got emotional as a kid when BYU would lose to Utah. This team is motivated to beat Utah. The rivalry matters to this team, and I think behind a raucous Marriott Center crowd, it's a sellout. It's going to be electric. It's Royal Blue Night. There's a new donut, for heaven's sakes, Mitch. Like, I just think I don't see any scenario in which Utah spurns an upset here.
It warmed my heart that Director of Recruiting Justin Young said that he was very excited about the blueberry Cougar tail. I'm with you, Coach Justin Young, because that blueberry donut.
You're buying tonight.
Oh, yeah. I've had a few family members say, hey, can you get me one that don't have tickets because the secondary market is off the charts? I'm like, okay, I am going to look real dumb when I walk away from BYU concession stand and I'm walking away with 5 Cougar tails. I will quickly exit to my car and put those away and then come back into the Marriott Center. But I digress. So anyone trying to get the early blueberry Cougar tail, I'm locking down 5 before you even get to the arena. I'm just letting you know now I'm going to be that guy. But my score prediction is going to be BYU. It's very similar to you. BYU 87, Utah 69. I just think that, this BYU team, I think maybe early on there's going to be a little bit of a feeling out. The hype is going to be so energetic, and I could see maybe a low-scoring performance in the before the under 16 media timeout, but I think BYU gets rolling. I think they just match up. They'll make the necessary adjustments. I think one of the underrated aspects of this team is that in the second meetings against these opponents, Kevin Young and his staff have really thrived.
That's a good point.
They've been excellent in these second meetings. They're not going to let the Bigs of Utah feast in the paint like they did in Salt Lake. I think BYU wins, and they win big, and it's a huge send-off for these seniors and to cap off a really fun regular season for BYU.
I'm really interested to see what senior night's like because there's some really impactful seniors here. Fush Traore, what a career he's had, right? He's not the star on this team, but he showed flashes this year like he has throughout his whole career of being a really high-level, impactful player. I love that Trey Stewart has carved out a nice role. Talk about a perseverance-type career where in college sports, Mitch, Trey Stewarts don't exist. They leave. They find a different situation, and he grinded. And Kevin Young even admitted earlier in the year that he had to have hard conversations with guys like Trey Stewart where it's, hey, you're doing all the right things. I'm sorry. Like, life isn't fair. But Trey kept grinding and got in there. So it's going to be fun to see the whole spectacle. It's going to be a true performance tonight, I think, from the team and just from the event by itself.
And I think, Kevin Young doesn't really acknowledge the whole bracket stuff, but internally, him and his staff, they are aware of what the ramifications are. You can't lose this game. This is a quad 2 game against Utah. So that's the type of loss, if you did experience that could set you back to the 8 seed line and give some ammunition to the committee and say, let's put him in that 8-9, maybe heck 9-10. I don't know. You don't want to get down that well. So you got to take care of business, and then you go to Kansas City, riding high, feeling really good, and you get back on the winning side of things against the Utes.
All right, that'll do it. Game is tonight at 8 p.m. You can hear it, of course, right here on the legacy home of the Cougs, KSL News Radio. We'll have coverage tonight from inside the Marriott Center. So for another great episode of Cougar Sports Saturday, have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you Monday night for Cougar Nation breaking down this one.
You bought a house, or maybe you're building one, but it just isn't feeling like home. Not yet. AMC Building Materials has this undeniable knack for transforming a house into a home. Your home. How do they do that? They combine years of exceptional kitchen and bath creations with your ideas. In fact, customer satisfaction is their #1 priority. You know what you want. You know it's not going to be cookie cutter. And this is exactly where AMC shines. AMC delivers exceptional quality, bold-style kitchen and bath designs, along with their exceptional value and a timeline you'll love. Most projects are complete by the elite AMC professional installers in under 10 days. Immerse yourself in the beauty, function, and feel in person at the AMC Building Materials showroom in Salt Lake City. Get directions and schedule your free estimate at amckitchenslc.org. AMC Building Materials, transforming your house into a home.